All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Hi, everyone. Happy Freya. Welcome to episode 11 with one of my favorite guests, Preston Dennett. Preston Dennett is a leading ufologist, award-winning author, and researcher. He's been on countless news sources and also been featured on the History Channel. So thank you so much, Preston, for being on the show.
Thanks, Pam. I always love talking with you. So, yeah.
Totally. And we're both like vibrating with this next topic that's going to come up, and it's probably one of your favorite things to talk about. I know you had that, and you've written a book about it, Out of Body Exploring: A Beginner's Guide, which you can get on Amazon. And I've read it. It's an amazing book. It's like a journal entry into the world of out-of-body experiences. And I really appreciate it. I highly recommend it. Preston's candor and honesty, and how he journals his entries, and how you explore your out-of-body experiences. So before we dive into more of that topic, what exactly is an out-of-body experience, and how does this compare to lucid dreaming and astral travel?
Two loaded questions.
Okay.
Yeah, well, an out-of-body experience is just what it sounds like. It's
Okay.
the experience of you leaving your body.
Okay.
We all have that ability. It's a natural human ability. We have what is known as the dream body, the second body, the astral body.
Okay.
Truthfully, we have more than that. There are actually like 7 bodies.
Okay.
But in simple terms, the out-of-body experience is the experience of, it feels like you're physically leaving and entering a dream body, which has all kinds of abilities to walk through walls, to elongate, to fly, to teleport, and telepathy, and all this other stuff. So yeah, that's what the out-of-body experience is. It's completely natural. We're all going to have one at the end of our lives anyway.
This is true. It's one of the things that are guaranteed in life, and you can't guarantee much, but you can guarantee that. So,
and what was the second part of the question?
well, lucid dreaming and astral travel,
yeah.
are those like the different kind of bodies part of we'll just say OBEs, but like when you're out of body, do you always experience like seeing your body at like wherever you're laying down or sleeping? Like, is that part of the process, or could you jump bodies?
No, you don't always see your body.
Okay.
Sometimes you look and there's like nothing there.
Okay, that's scary.
Which is a little strange. Yeah. So, but to me, lucid dreams versus out-of-body experiences is a pretty not contested, but debated issue.
Okay.
And in my opinion, and I think they're essentially the same thing. They're kind of like kissing cousins, really. I mean, they're so close.
Okay.
And I think that every lucid dream is an out-of-body experience. When you are lucid dreaming, you are out of body.
Okay.
But not every out-of-body experience is a lucid dream. And by that I mean, when you lucid dream, you're out of your body and you're projecting an environment. You're hallucinating a dream.
Okay, that's
so
interesting.
what you see around you is internally generated.
Okay.
Whereas with an out-of-body experience, you do not perceive it as being internally generated.
So you perceive it as, for example, and you talked about this before, you can expand on it again. You could be visiting down the street, but it is your street?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This feels like you're in the physical, normal reality.
Okay.
But it's kind of tricky, though, because as you do this and you move along, it starts to blend a little bit. And there's bleed-throughs, and you can kind of realize that the physical world is essentially fabricated, I guess, the same way the higher worlds are, all consciously generated. Everything's internal.
Okay. Okay, I know. See, there's so much fluidity going on because we're basically jumping states of consciousness. Because, gosh, like we'll get into it later about the different bodies, but like even when you're out of body experiencing, because I love what you just said there, because I think that's important. That even our physical world of what we live in now in our 3D environment, 4D kind of way with time, but which is an illusion. But
Yeah,
you're
we're in
saying
the
it's not really,
matrix.
yeah, totally. It's like you're saying it's not like it's still projected. This is still malleable. Your thoughts obviously affect your reality.
Yeah, there's this weird sort of enigma with reality where everything is kind of internal. It's all hallucination, but at the same time, it's real. And the physical world we all share. We know it's real. I mean, we can
Yes.
feel it, taste it. And dreams we think of as being very kind of ethereal and not
Yes.
real.
Yes.
But here's my argument. Dreams are actually longer lasting. They don't change. They do not degrade. The physical world falls apart and changes.
Preston, that's huge.
You know what I mean?
That's a big thing to say.
And I know dreams can be wild and weird,
Yes.
but you start to be able to like go back, and when you die, when you go to the other side, you're essentially entering the dream world, your dream world.
Okay. This is okay.
So,
So when you die, you're entering the dream world. Yet, I don't know if we said this off camera before, but we're gonna say it on now. You're like, Pam, um you're not having an out of body experience. Your out of body is when you're out of it, you're actually in another. Do you know what I mean? It was something like that. It wasn't like an out of body. You're going into it again. You're going into your physical body. You're not really going out of it because the out of it is like more, as you're just saying, more the real thing. And we're kind of
yeah,
what many authors and poets say
yeah,
is that this is the illusion that we're dreaming.
exactly. We think this is our true home, and we've evolved on Earth, which true or not, I don't
Yeah.
think we've evolved on Earth, but whatever. That's more an alien thing.
Okay.
But the fact is, we're projecting down to Earth from our true home.
That's
Astral
it.
projection
Thank you.
it's looked at the wrong way.
Okay.
It's kind of reverse of what we actually think it is. Our true body is the astral body. Oh, and it's so nice. It's the superior body. It's stronger. It's faster. It doesn't age. It's more beautiful. You can do more things with it. You will. I mean, I can't rave enough about how beautiful and wonderful the astral body is.
And so you're talking about the astral body or the astral plane as its own plane of existence.
Yes, and this is a complete reality. It's more real than the
We
physical
just
plane.
warped our reality right here because we're changing a lot of definitions around for people.
The physical plane is less real, honestly. And you look at it, and when you're up there on the other side, things have more life, more definition, more color,
Okay.
more depth.
Yes.
It's hyper real. It's like super real on the other side. And here's more like a painting or a pale reflection, a little
Oh my
bit.
gosh, seriously, Preston, that's so well said. I have such resonance with what you just said. From my own personal experience, and maybe viewers who have had OBEs, like you really articulated in such a great way about the vividness and the texture of the astral plane and then coming back here. Yeah, it does feel like almost like a 1D kind of a 1D kind of, and I mean that with all due respect, but like a 1D kind of painting. Sorry, I have something in my eye, but something like that.
Yeah, it's tough. Living on Earth is tough, and I think the reason why is because this is not our true home. We're all explorers here on Earth, doing something really special, which I don't think. I mean, according to Robert Monroe, who's the
Yes.
lead out of body guy, he's like, people who graduate from the Earth School are well respected throughout the universe. And I had to laugh when I heard that because I'm like, yeah, this is it. Life on Earth is not easy.
No, it's not.
I
It
mean,
has its challenges, and it's funny you said that because I feel like that Frank Sinatra song, "If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere." Like Earth is like that planet. Like, and I totally agree with you on that. Like other extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings are like, where you where did you come from? Earth, and it's kind of like this blown away, throw your chair back, like what?
yeah, apparently on the physical plane, we get to experience things you cannot experience on the other side. And that's more than just, the wonderful food and sex and things like this. But the
And we're gonna jump
sensation.
into that. We're gonna
But,
jump
but
into that. I want to jump into that. But okay, so
you can also experience loss and the separation from the source. you're a sense of individuality
Right.
that you can't get on the astral plane because it's all very connected and telepathic and embracing. And here you're all alone, or so it would seem.
Okay, yes. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Because even with because you're touching upon like what sages kind of talk with the identity of self, which is like the I am, and then you're breaking that identity and you're getting more into a collective consciousness or a feeling of oneness. Your telepathic skills start to all these astral spidey senses start to unravel, right? And I guess the question is, does it have to be like those degrees of separation? Can you integrate some worlds together, or is that like an ascension process that we're getting more into our astral bodies, into our light bodies? I mean, there's a big debate about that, about do you take your body with you, your physical body, like all those things.
I know people do or have. I've certainly read accounts of people who don't die in the natural sense. They ascend and are able to basically just like, all right, I'm leaving now, and whoosh, gone. I know, gosh, there's some Native American cases like that, some
Yes,
Eastern uh, monks, and
the rainbow bodies.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the whole thing. What happens is we come down here on Earth and we all forget, and it becomes a problem because now we're disconnected from source, and it causes behavior problems, and people have a lot of fear and don't know how to do it, and we're struggling to survive.
Yeah.
And so it causes a lot of tensions and a lot of fear and disharmony. And that's why I think there's a real big push from people on the other side to sort of reconnect people.
Hmm.
And the whole out of body thing
Hmm.
is a real strong movement in society, kind of spearheaded by Robert Monroe, but very much like the near death movement, which
I
got
was just
real.
going to say the near death, because that changes people's perspective. Like once they experience a near death experience, their whole perspective of life changes. They're not the same again. And
Yeah.
I feel like the same with OBEs. Like they feel so real, and you come back into this physical plane, and you're like, it does feel like an illusion, and it's kind of hard to ground yourself sometimes back in this plane.
Yeah, but it's all about connecting. And so, yeah, what happens is you start to have a lot of out of body experiences, and you can see the other side. You can integrate your astral body with your physical body to a certain extent,
Okay.
and you start to experience all those spidey sense things. I loved how you put
Yeah.
that.
Talk about
Yeah,
it.
you have precognition.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's just the beginning. Past life recall.
Yeah.
Um, Human levitation is connected to this.
Yes.
Teleportation, all the psychic powers are completely natural and regular, and that's what we do on the other side. But you can translate them here, and it's super cool.
Okay. See, I love that. I love how you said, okay, I love that, because I do believe that these are innate natural abilities that we have. So what drew you into like your first out of body experience? Why did you want to explore this?
It was kind of a meandering path, to be
Okay.
honest. It came along very much the same time I started doing UFO research.
Hmm.
I was hit, with UFOs at the same time that uh, I started exploring dreams. And how that happened was my mom passed away tragically
Mm.
at age 49,
That's so young.
and I was 19,
Hmm.
and a young 19, if you know what I mean. I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
really a mama's boy, on naive, hadn't done anything, didn't know a lot. Well,
Well, it's
at
19,
any,
right? Yeah.
I was super skeptical of anything paranormal,
Mhm.
uh, and that
That's
included
funny
ghosts.
because he's totally into paranormal,
I know.
like
Oh, I
activity.
hated it. Oh, I was disgusted. I found it abhorrent. I'm like, you believe in ghosts? You're an idiot. What are you talking about?
Okay.
So it was tough for me when I saw my mom's ghost. I'm like, well, I'm cracking up.
So you
uh,
saw her, did you see her ghost like in a visitation in a dream state, or
no, it was for real. It was at the service. My
wow.
dad's driving up, and she's sitting next to him.
Oh my gosh, Preston.
And I'm like looking, and I look to my right and left, and I'm like, okay, no one seems to be reacting, but there she is. And and drove up right next to me and just pixelated away.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, I've lost my mind, because I know ghosts aren't real. It didn't even occur to me. It did
Right, yeah,
not.
no, you didn't, and you're 18, so you didn't even comprehend it at
Yeah,
that time that
right.
you're seeing her spirit.
So then following that, this
Okay.
was about a year, I think, after she died, she kept coming to me in my dreams.
Okay. Yeah.
And I didn't think they were dreams. It was so funny. Well, not funny, but amazing. I would wake up in my bedroom because she walked in, and I'm assuming I'm completely awake. And I'm like, Mom, wow, I
Yeah.
thought you had died. Did I make a mistake? I know I didn't. I couldn't have. This is crazy.
Right.
And we'd hug, and she'd be like, everything's fine. And then I'd wake up and I'd get another shock. I'm like, wow, I thought I was awake.
Did you feel, sorry, do you also feel a shock, like physical sensations when you're going through OBEs as well?
There are some physical sensations,
Okay. Okay.
but at that point, no, it
No,
was
okay,
all
so it's like an easy
very dreamy.
transition.
So these would be what I would call like pre-lucid dreams, because what I felt like I was awake, but I didn't recognize that I actually was lucid.
Right.
So it's not quite lucid.
And this is different because the your mom in your dream is like a very real person. This is not like a projection
Yeah,
simulation kind of thing. She's saying, "Hi, I'm okay," like as many others have accounted for.
right. You have a dream, and there's people all around you, and they're not real. They're
Yeah.
not visiting you. But this I knew instantly,
Yeah.
and it
Exactly.
was so crazy because I'm like, well, ghosts aren't real. There's no life after death. But she came to me. I know she did. What am I gonna do about this?
Right.
I need to find out what's going on, because I was a scientist. I
Okay.
was all about science. I was gonna be a science fiction writer. I was neck deep in science,
Yes.
and so this made me look into dreams, uh, and I'm like, wow, dreams are pretty interesting. Lucid dreaming had struggled to get lucid in the
Okay.
lucid dream state. I read Stephen LaBerge's book, Lucid Dreaming.
Okay.
And Carlos Castaneda, of course, was kind of my first exposure to all of this.
Okay.
But really, it took Robert Monroe's book to wake me up and start having OBEs.
Okay.
Uh, and once I start, because he refined the exercises. I'm like, well, this is good. This is pretty simple. I can do this, and it worked. I'm like so jazzed. Well, first one scared the living daylights out of me.
What was your first?
Oh my God. I, and I often talk about this. What stops people is laziness. They don't think they can do it, and fear.
I think fear is the biggest thing because
Yeah,
there's a little bit. I would say some people might think, "Oh, I would die if I did this. If I went out of my body, and how would I get back?" And all these other kind of things. I think that's one of the main myths.
yeah, it's definitely a myth. It's as safe as sleeping. You're already doing it. So if you're already doing it, it's safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the evidence shows the opposite. There's an enormous number of benefits you can get from it, including physically healing yourself.
You can,
But
okay. Okay.
but my first case, my first actual taste of this was, I was doing the exercises. I'm having lucid dreams. I'm like almost there. I kept like false awakenings. That's a real clue. Very vivid dreams.
And what is a false awakening? Could you touch on that?
That's when you think you're awake and you're walking around and suddenly you wake up and you're like,
Okay.
whoa, oh my God, I could have sworn I was awake.
That's insane, Preston. Seriously, that's insane.
And this is the real problem that keeps people from becoming lucid, because the
Okay.
dream world, like I said, is so real. It's more real than the real world. You never even think to consider that you could be dreaming, because
It's
it's
true.
a real
True. Yeah.
world.
So, okay, and then that's the second myth is that your sensations, colors, vividness, touch, because you received, like you embrace with your mom, right? And I did that with my dad too when I was lucid dreaming when he passed away. It was the same thing. My request was, higher source, higher power, whoever's out there, I just want to give my dad a hug. That was it. I know he passed away. That was my request. I just want to hug him one last time. And again, you have to pay attention to the symbols in your dream state as well, because I had the doors open, doorways, and light coming through. And there he was. And I was the same thing. None of this is real. How could you be real? You passed away. And I kid you not, like we touched hand to hand.
Wow.
It was such like I can't put that experience, but like that changes your whole perspective of the death experience as well. Like I touched him, I hugged him, I felt him, right? And I was like, this is so real.
And it was, and it is. It's
Yeah.
funny with my mom, early mom visitations, were really amazing, but was nothing compared to like when I was actually out of body.
Okay, so
There was a complete shift there. I'm like, wow. I mean,
yeah.
the dream visitations were nice, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But to actually meet her out of body was so amazing.
So
But that took some time.
Okay, so there you go.
Like my first experience, like I want to just tell you was, doing the exercises and you try to reach this sort of vibratory state where you can feel a vibration and you pop out. And I wasn't doing that. I was getting some vibrations. But suddenly, and this is how a lot of my experiences started. I just woke up out of body.
Okay.
And
after a lot of practice.
2 months, a couple of weeks.
Okay. Which Preston lays this out in his book on how to practice and everything to get out of body as well.
Yeah. So. I mean, it's a simple process, which we can go over it. But woke up standing next to my bed, was a little bit lightheaded, a little bit dizzy.
Okay.
And disoriented, and finally just kind of collected my thoughts and realized, oh, okay, I'm standing next to my bed. Okay. And I looked down at my bed and I'm like, well, look at that.
And you were there.
Yeah, I was under the covers. I couldn't see my body, but I could see the covers and the lump that I make. And I got this. I felt a wave of terror, of grim, cold, clammy death grasping me, and I thought I died.
Yeah, I was just gonna say your first thought on your first one would be like, oh my gosh, I'm dead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the terror, just the awful feeling of like, wow.
Yeah.
And what have I done? And so of course your instant reaction is to dive back in and pray. And I dived back in. I got this weird spongy feeling, and I'm twisting around inside my body and I'm finding the right position. And I'm like, this is wild. Oh my God, what's happening? And I popped in.
That's insane. So when you dive in your body, are you like this astral, like transparent being, and you're just kind of like whoosh, like a wave or what?
Yeah, it was like water filling a container. It was like foam filling up I don't know. It was like
that kind of feeling. Okay.
A twisting washcloth. You're like, and you're like putting on clothes. Like going inside a spacesuit, you're like finding your armholes.
And that's why they call the body a vehicle. So it kind of sounds like
it was really cool.
Yeah, okay. That's so cool and twisted.
And I aligned and I clicked in, and I woke up and I had a flash of like, what happened?
Okay.
What happened? And I almost didn't remember it, but I remembered instantly, and I got a wave of joy, of unbridled joy.
Yes.
Because I knew I had done it.
Awesome.
So I went from 360 degrees utter terror to complete joy. And I'm like, well, I'm doing this again. I'm obviously going to do this again.
Okay.
And so, I spent the next months buckling down.
And how have they progressed since? Because you have some, I mean, we'll talk about healing and other like the benefits of OBEs, but like, how have you, like the question, I mean, something that comes up still in my mind is when you're out of body experiencing, in some ways, are you really looking at, like if you walk down the street and there was a yellow car there, would you see a yellow car there if you woke up? You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're good at it, it might take a little while.
That's insane.
Because it took me a good few months to get to a point where I could do anything.
Yeah, because you practice walking through walls.
Yeah, which is fun, but a little scary at first. And I certainly didn't start with that,
Yeah, you didn't. You progressed to that.
Your out-of-body experiences in the beginning will probably be about 3 seconds long.
Okay.
4 seconds, 5. I worked my seconds up.
Okay.
I remember my second one, I was depressed. My mom had passed away. I don't know. I was just not feeling great. And I just threw myself on the bed one afternoon and whoosh, I felt the vibrations. I assumed I had stuck my finger in the light socket.
Okay.
I really did, because it was electrocution is what it felt like.
But it doesn't feel painful, does it?
No, but it wasn't particularly comfortable.
Okay, because I feel those too, but it doesn't really feel painful sometimes. But it just feels like I kind of compare it to like an ambulance driver when they try to revive you, and you just go, and then that's when you're kind of like
I felt
shocked.
I felt it to different degrees, and I think you kind of can feel it less as you get better at it.
That's true. Yes.
Unless you want to feel it, and then you can totally feel it, which is fun. I mean, because you buzz. It's like an extreme buzzing, and some
Do
people
you?
look.
Sorry, do you have like requests when you go into, because I know your mom kind of opened this whole new world, and that's what tends to happen. I think that's one of the biggest gifts is that your loved ones can give you, is really question, why am I here? How is this all made up? How is this constructed? And to connect with whatever it
Yeah,
is, that infinity portion of yourself. But like, I remember one time I was totally drained in energy, and I had the request to get energy, and in my dream state or out of body or vivid dreaming state I received it. So do you put in any request of like, this is what I want to experience?
yep. You're jumping ahead a little bit, but
Okay, well.
but no, that's cool, because
Okay.
initially I had to learn how to see, and that just takes practice. There's no real way to explain that.
You
And
said to see?
just to see, sometimes I like could not see. It'd be very foggy or dark, or I'm
Okay.
walking around like a blind almost.
Okay.
You have to open, and you have this sort of psychic vision that you
Okay.
have to learn how to use to see, and everything's a little distorted, and everything's not, but you start to get good at by just practice. It happens naturally. But moving, you'd be like, everyone's always flapping their arms. I did that for
Yes.
sure. You're trying to swim. Finally, you realize, nope, it's here. You got to think yourself.
That's
Uh,
and the thinking
um,
is instantaneous, because
yeah.
you said you would think things in your out of body experience and it would just manifest
So
almost.
that was the learning process. The whole first year was learning how to move and see. Then I walked through walls, and then I would fly around the house. Took me a long time to like fly through the telephone wires. That was a little scary. I always avoided them. Then I would go to other people's houses, explored a
How
lot of the physical world. Another city, that was so cool. I went down to San Diego.
so wait. So you went to another city.
Yeah, I had a friend down in San Diego, and I thought, well, they say you can travel pretty far out of body, and
Okay.
I'm totally lucid. And I'm like, wow. And I'm floating over my condo. I'm looking down at the San Fernando Valley, the freeways. And I'm like, well, let's go visit John in San Diego.
Okay.
And so I'm flying over the freeways at like 20 miles an hour. I'm like, well, no, dudes, I can only remain conscious for a good like 10 minutes at this point, maybe an hour if I'm lucky.
Okay.
Because you kind of just know how long you can do this.
And then your body
And
is
you get pulled back in.
right, and it's just breathing, and it's just doing its thing. It's kind of
Yeah.
auto tuned.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so I'm like, okay, let's get there, go fast. And you teleport. And zoom, I zoomed all the way to San Diego. And I tried to get him to notice me, didn't notice me. And there was lots of people. It's a tourist town it's outside of San Diego, actually.
Okay.
Another town, Ocean Beach, or I believe it was. But
Okay.
yeah, all kinds of tourists on the beach. And I'm flying around in front of them. I'm like, do you see me? Do you see me? And poking at them and trying to get someone to notice me. But you're a ghost when you're out of body. It's a little freaky.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say that'd be a very interesting experience to see your friends and they're not noticing you at first.
Yeah.
If that was the first time you're experiencing that, that would be freaky.
Yeah. So they're all kinds of little freaky, like walking through a wall. Took me a while to keep my eyes open to do that. I'm
That
like,
one
all
sounds
right.
fun.
It is, because you can feel the texture. You feel the inside of the wall. I'm like, here's a brick wall. Let's do this one. And I'm going to keep my eyes open. And I did, and I could see the brick and the red, and I could feel the grainy texture. And you pop out. It's like,
That's
wow.
insane. That
And
is insanely crazy. I think that's awesome.
so I tried to move objects as well. Never could.
Oh, telekinesis?
No, like physically move an object while
Okay.
I'm out of body.
Okay.
Telekinesis, yeah, you can do that out of body. That happens all the time.
Okay. So
You're not,
did you so you can this is really advanced, because it's like people are just thinking out of body, almost like near death experience or lucid dreaming, but no, this is like a whole way of practicing and being, and like you said, connecting the worlds together to integrate it more and not have such a separation or divide. I want to touch
yeah,
when you said something about you have to think your way when you're in that realm. I get that. When I the walking through walls thing, I was like in a bubble, and because I didn't believe that this wall was physical and I had to go through it, I hit the wall and I slid down, right? And I was like,
yeah,
oh damn.
done that a
Did
million
you do that
times.
too? It's just
Oh
like
yeah.
it's like, and then I kind of got mad at myself. I was like, I should have just believed that I could go through a wall, that my thought could go
It's
through a wall, because I
I
couldn't
think
comprehend it.
it's a little more than that, I think, because I was researching this. Why can't I move an object while I'm out of body? Other people have.
Okay.
And some guy, it's on a show, and a guy called up. He's like, oh, here's how you do it. And, here's why you can't fly through walls sometimes, because
Okay.
you're at a lower vibration.
Okay.
You're vibrating at a lower level. And he says,
Okay.
if you lower your vibration and pull vital energy out of your physical body, you
Okay.
will be able to move objects. And to go through walls, you have to just raise your vibration a little bit. And like
Now,
you said, yeah, believe you can do it. That
believe
does,
you could do. Okay. So and this is interesting because people in different, I'm going to call them densities because they call them different densities and layers,
yeah,
fourth density, fifth density, that I love how you said this, because you have to move differently, you have to see differently, you have to twirl and fly or whatever it is to kind of like get used to moving in a different density, because it's different. And some people say fifth and seventh and sixth, all those densities are totally non-physical, and they're civilizations and like beings who live in a non-physical way. They don't have the body, but they're still, I know it's weird, and I've heard other channels of people say it too, is that they're living without their body. This is how they live. This is how they interact. And this is how the sixth or seventh or whatever densities are. But this is a way to practice yourself
yeah,
into moving in a different density, because it feels different.
yeah. It does feel different, but it's still, when you're on the other side and you're interacting, you feel absolutely, you taste, it's all even better, really.
Yeah, and let's talk
You know
about
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah, let's talk about, I want to talk about that, because you mentioned earlier, this is really cool, like the different types of body. So even with out of body, do you just set an intention and go do it? And again, Preston lays this out in his book, Out of Body Exploring,
Yeah,
A
yeah. You
Beginner's
mentioned this
Guide.
earlier. A request. That's a super good trick,
Yeah.
because what happens is you pop out of body and you're like a little in a different state of consciousness, and it's hard to focus. It's a
Yes.
bit like learning, when you're playing the piano or something, or doing a musical instrument, or you're in the middle of a sport, you're skiing down you're focusing.
Okay.
You're I don't know if you've ever done a unicycle or something. You
I
have to
want to.
focus. Oh
Yes.
shit! Man, I learned how to do it. It's not hard.
Okay.
But so you're juggling, you're focusing. And so
Okay.
it's really, you set your intention, and to do it best, you're like, when I get out of body, I'm going to visit my mother. I'm going to learn about my past lives. Or,
Okay.
I want to see an enlightened master. I want to visit a healing
Enlightened masters
temple.
are cool though.
Oh,
That's a good one. That's a good one.
or I want to visit a healing temple. That's so much fun. Or
Yes.
you
Yeah,
can
there's
explore the
temples
physical
in there
world.
too.
Yeah.
There's temples, and it's a totally like, I mean, it looks like, okay, this is like, it does not look like a fake. Okay, some of them seems like simulation, correct? Some of them do seem kind of simulation like, where it's like you can kind of tell it's, I don't want to say it's fake, but it's simulated, and you're supposed to jump off that mall plane, that parking lot plane, that place where it was crowded, to go somewhere else. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. It's really interesting going from dimension to dimension. And it's
Okay, so
really
that's
hard to describe. There's all kinds of tunnels and
yes.
doorways and
Yes.
corridors and the valleys, the valley of death. It's described in these near-death experiences as tunnels, as sidewalks, as corridors, as streets, and
Subway stations. I've had that. Different,
right.
yeah. Definitely tunnels. Definitely tunnels. Yeah.
So that's the other side is all about that. And so
Okay.
you meet these for me, I'll just I don't, it's different each time, I guess. There's lots of tunnels, but I'll like reach a barrier. Like one time it was I'm trying to get to the akashic records.
Yes.
I'd read about. I'm like, wow, because that's supposed to be pretty high up, and we talked about different bodies,
Yeah.
right? So
And I haven't touched on this. It's just the desire body, right?
oh yay! Can we talk about this?
Let's talk about eroticism, Preston.
This is
Because I cannot sidestep this question. It is there. It is part of it. It is dominant. We're talking about food. We're talking about sex. We're talking about eroticism. We're talking about those. I mean, it's there, and it's like, what?
yes.
And even Robert Monroe talks about it too. Like, it's just, these are leading experts that say this is a part of the process. I mean, he experiences it. It's just there.
If you really study this subject in depth and look at all the occult writings on this, sex is a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, and the sexual energy. And Patricia Garfield, she wrote an excellent book on lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences.
Okay.
And she talks about how sex was a huge part of her experiences.
But do you feel that when you're talking about the different densities, are there different densities of that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There's sex on the other side, in case anyone's wondering. And it's great, and it's different. It's not as messy.
There's no callback.
So what we have is our astral body, right? We have our physical body. The etheric body is kind of your aura.
Okay.
Right? And that's sort of health. And then there's the astral body, maybe your third body, right?
Okay.
Which beyond that, there's, the causal body and the Buddhic body and the akashic body and the atmic body.
So that's what we're referring to when the akashic body, you were saying it's a bit higher to get there.
These are higher dimensions, which all have their own sub-levels. And according to Eastern wisdom, which has really mapped this out.
Yes.
Here in the West, we're like, just exploring them willy-nilly, and we've all got our different names for them. So, but you kind of start to sense that you're like, hey, this is another dimension. And so your astral body is the main one. This is where we all go when we die. It's a beautiful astral plane, and it's gorgeous, and it's nature, and it's lovely, and you'll love it.
And you've helped people in the astral plane. I think last time you actually, people who didn't know, they really realized they were dead or something.
Soul rescues.
Fly or go. Sorry, yeah, that.
But let's stick with the desire body for a sec, because this is so cool.
Okay.
Because so what happens when a lot of people pass away is they just go right to heaven. I'll call it heaven. I'm not really religious, but that's essentially what it is. But some people,
cosmic oneness.
Yeah. I mean, it's still just like here. It's not that different. It's just great. It's great in a million ways.
Okay.
But otherwise, very much, I mean, you're not going to meld into nothingness. No.
Okay.
You are still you, 100%.
Okay, that's interesting. That feels like another density or dimension for me.
You're more connected to the cosmic for sure. I mean, you can sense God in a real sense.
Okay.
But you are still completely yourself.
You still have a persona.
Yeah. People can read your mind, and you're much more connected, and it's very you're still very much yourself. And I think you're always going to have a sense of self for as long as you want, and probably forever. I mean, you're never going to disappear. An entity is this very special thing.
That. Okay. So that's okay. So you're in the astral plane. Yes.
Yeah. So when people die who don't, who are attached for some reason, perhaps they are murderers or drug addicts or alcoholics or just don't know they're dead or died tragically, they get earthbound, and you are what you call a hungry ghost. And you have all these like desires to fulfill these addictions that you can no longer fulfill.
Okay.
And so what happens for a lot of people who do out-of-body travel is they get a taste of this. You know what it's like to be a ghost. And you will be consumed with horniness, lust. You become consumed with lust or hunger. Like, oh my God, I need to eat now.
Okay.
Or you might get really angry, or you might have a lot of fear.
Okay.
Because the desire body, it's also called the emotional body.
Yeah, I was just going to say the emotional body. And it this is so interesting to a lot of Eastern philosophies of what you're saying that's parallel to it, right? So yeah.
So yeah, going out of body, it's really good if you can just spiritually evolve yourself a little bit and face your fears. Don't be a fearful person. Overcome your anger, because
Yeah.
all this steals your attention. It makes it a little more difficult, and then you pop out on the other side and you're like, whoa, I am horny. So this happened to me, and initially I would get really angry, and
Right.
I'm not an angry person. I'm really
No.
not. And
No.
I'm pretty well known in my family for being, level-headed.
Yes.
Uh,
I already know what
I
your spirit animal is. Remember I told you it was that that cube.
yeah, like your little
I'm gonna
planet.
flash that on the screen here because that's Preston's spirit animal.
But yeah, when I first started doing it, I would have these lucid dreams where I'm like just pissed.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what, and so I just tear it up like the grocery. I often appeared in grocery stores, which is
Grocery
a
stores,
weird.
yeah, that was your thing. Mine's more malls, but it's some sort of
Yeah,
public setting.
often people will appear at stores or malls or weird places. Like this is a thing, and
Yes.
I was
It
so
has substance.
delighted to
This
read
is a
that.
substance textural kind of thing. Yes.
This is something that happens to people who do this. And I
Okay.
was so delighted when I read that other people were appearing in grocery stores. I'm like, hey, oh my God, that's weird.
Okay. Okay,
So,
good.
and I just tear it apart. And
Okay.
so after I got over that, which took, I think I'm pretty much over that. Yeah. I haven't done that in years.
To be gentle with yourself and compassionate and don't judge yourself for those. I mean, that was big. That's one of the big things that we learned.
Yeah. I don't know where that anger came from, but I got over it at some point. All right, did not feel the need to tear things apart
Okay.
or push people over. I would do that. But then, food. I would become consumed with the desire to eat, and it was like hunger.
Okay.
And so, what's so much fun about this out of body lucid dreaming stuff
Okay.
is there's a place you go when you're out of body. It's the lucid dream dimension, I guess. It's the other side. It's like right out of body.
Okay.
And I'm not sure it's even the physical world. It might be though, in the sense that you could explore the physical world if you want. Yeah, I'm going to say close to this
Close to this. Okay.
astral dimension, the lower astral dimension, which is
Okay.
basically the physical world,
Okay. That makes
because you can walk out of a lucid dream into the physical world as we would perceive it.
okay.
So, but you're lucid dreaming, and a lucid dream is your creation, and you can control it. And there's all these exercises to control it. And this is a pathway to enlightenment that the
Okay.
Tibetan Buddhists outlined.
I was just
step
gonna
by
say
step.
Tibetan. I was just gonna call on Tibetan a while ago, so you'd beat me to it.
And so they're like, change the colors, change one thing to two, change something small to big. And so you learn this control, how to control a dream. So
Okay.
I would do that, and I would get consumed with, I'm hunger. And so I'd create a feast. And it's always the same foods. There's like 7 of them.
But you can eat, like you actually eat in this, like you're eating, you can eat cake, you can eat papaya, you can eat, I'm Fijian
Yeah.
background, right? Tropical fruit, but whatever, right? It's just, you're eating there.
Yeah, my menu, it was brownies.
So American. You got your American diet on there.
Yeah, Neapolitan ice cream.
Nice, nice.
Sour cream and onion potato chips.
No one touches strawberry for that ice cream. Or was it vanilla? No one touches the vanilla. They always eat
right. And then sour cream and onion potato chips, chicken. And that was pretty much it. Just a few items, pretty simple menu. Put them all on a table, and you take the ice cream and you scoop it out with your hand. And it's not like cold, and it tastes real. It's
you can taste it.
Right. It's slightly more subtle.
Okay.
Sometimes it depends on your state of consciousness, but the potato chips are super crunchy and salty. I'm like, wow, and I just and it disappears about halfway down your throat, or so I would perceive it. But I like jam. I'm like, and brownies. I'm like, chicken. I love chicken strips. And I just gorge.
Oh gosh, do you feel full?
No, it disappears. It disappears halfway down your throat, and so there's a little bit of frustration with it, because you cannot appease your appetite. Not like here where you feel full. No, you just keep eating and keep eating, and then you start to realize, like, well, this is all right.
Right. And so how did you transcend that then after? Because people will experience that desire body when they OBE.
yeah, a lot of the writers say, oh, avoid it, overcome. I'm like, no, I'm doing it. And so that's how I overcame it. I just did it.
And
And I'm like,
just
all right, I ate my food and that was fun.
yeah.
Let's do it again. And usually not. No, I usually just do it once. And that was
Okay.
enough.
Okay.
And that's exactly my approach to the sex problem too.
Okay. Okay.
Because Robert Monroe's like, just put it off, or avoid it. Don't fall into it.
Two different theories. Yeah, like it's some sort of yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is fun. I mean, are you kidding? I can create any person I want to have sex with. Are you kidding me? How can you not do that? And so I would do it. I'm just going to say, yeah,
Yeah.
I've made love on the other side to people who are not people as you would think of them. They are projections.
Yes.
And you can tell, but sometimes to real people too. I mean, a kiss on the other side with another person
Yeah.
has sparks in it. I mean, you see fireworks here. They talk about that.
Yes.
That's where it comes from. That's where I mean, like it is spark. Like it
You
is.
know what? That's interesting. I wonder if some of these like common phrases actually come from the astral plane, like sparks and feeling this and that, and it's actually there, but our physical bodies translated into words like that. That's really neat.
Yeah, I think so. And I have to tell you, there's been times I popped out of body and waves of sexual energy are coursing through me.
I mean, I think it's like
And
Kundalini a bit, right? Where it's like
yeah,
you're trying to channel that energy up your different chakras and you open your heart, you're trying to again, same kind of thing like the densities you're going up and then the Kundalini you're taking that from your root up. But
yeah.
I really appreciate how you acknowledge. You're like, I just want to express this, you know?
Yeah, sex is a wonderful natural thing on earth. It's something
Yes.
we all have, and I hope everyone experiences it to the fullest extent because it's cool, the energies of it.
Yeah.
And the energies of, sexual energies don't disappear on the other side. They're stronger.
That's
And
interesting.
and I would have some of these out of body experiences. And I mean, I'd wake up and I'd pop out of body, and I'm like, whoa, because it's sexual, and I couldn't get down the hallway before
Wow.
you'd explode into bliss in a
It
kind
is.
of
Yeah, it's
cosmic,
bliss.
cosmic orgasm, I guess. Which is better than the physical one.
But
Uh,
even channelers talk about that too when you're connecting to higher realms or other things. I've heard it as well, and in here too is that it feels blissful like when you connect with the different realms and planes. It's like it feels frisky. It feels
we're
cosmic.
frisky, yeah.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, Esther Hicks is big on it. She's like it feels frisky. It feels like alive. Like I'm alive.
Yeah, it's
And it
awesome.
goes into colors and it goes into food. It's not just like something that's just purely sexual, which is a benefit as well, like which is great, but like you see colors, I hear different sounds I haven't even heard on earth before.
Yeah, the visuals and the music and the feeling are super strong. What was kind of muted for me, and I
Massive.
didn't have a whole lot of experience with, was temperature,
Okay.
which seems to stay pretty steady. But I felt it. I felt areas that are hot, and I felt cold.
Okay.
I've only felt pain a couple of times. Once I was doing a spinning exercise, and I started to feel this kind of pressure on my eyeballs,
Okay.
which was unpleasant. So I stopped doing that.
Yeah.
But what else? Smell, sense of smells.
Okay.
Um, I know related to taste certainly, but we
Oh, that's true
separate it.
too. Yeah.
We separate it here, and you smell flowers, and so you can smell them. I'm gonna have to do more experiments with that. But
Have
the
you have
sex is amazing. Astral sex is absolutely, just do it. And people say, "Oh, avoid it." It's coarse. It's a lower vibration, and I think it is to a certain extent. But
Mhm.
how I got through it was I'd have the sex and be like, "All right, that was fun. Now let's go to the other side. Let's do the higher realm stuff."
And sometimes when you avoid something or taboo it, that which you resist persist. And I don't think that's really healthy. And here we're talking about the astral plane and it's a healthy way. It's just kind of like I noticed that with your take on it. And I saw Robert's take as well, and I appreciated your take on that because it didn't feel like resistance. It didn't feel like tabooish. It didn't feel like bad. It felt like, okay, just go express it, have fun. And then, because once it's done, you are on to the next plane
Yeah,
of
it's
existence.
it's it's part of what you do.
Yeah.
it's a stage of development, I guess, where you're like, all right, I have to learn how to do world building.
I was just gonna say,
Um,
yeah, world building. Okay.
yeah, you kind of create reality, and so
Okay.
you learn how to you know. Here's a good experiment, which was in Stephen LaBerge's books. I think it was in his books, in one of them, where you create a television,
Okay.
a dream television. And you turn it on. It's so much fun. So this is something I would do. Sometimes I'd just run out into my living room and I'm like, well, there's the TV. Let's see if this works. And that's how I'd often do it. And I turn it on and the darn thing turns on. This is an Astral TV. And you
Wow.
start and you change the channel and you can adjust the volume.
Okay.
And this is so cool.
This is weird though, because not many people actually, and I might mean weird in the sense is it's just not many people see cell phones in their dreams, and we're on it all the time. So technology is kind of something different. One of my friends just mentioned that. He says we're on our cell phones all the time, and rarely do people have dreams where they're on their cell phone. Maybe some do, but
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? But
it's kind of interesting
I,
how tech fits in that.
I hardly ever see cars on the other side. I have, but
Yeah, yeah, it's mostly just people or malls and things. It's interesting. Eh?
yeah, there's pathways and benches and
Yeah, nature for sure.
lots of really interesting architecture.
Yes.
Oh my God, the beautiful buildings. Uh,
What was on? I have to ask before I'm gonna because we're gonna do a two-part series here. We haven't even scratched the surface of it yet. But what was on your Astral TV?
yeah, oh, there was a Western.
Of course.
And so I changed the channel. It was a war movie.
Okay.
And I changed channel and I forgot what it was.
Okay.
And it'd be like really hard to remember. So it was a great exercise in adjusting the volume. Sometimes I create a radio. I did that once. I turned it on, and what was it? Fly like an eagle.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, that's such a great message there. And the other was,
You ever wake up with songs in your head too, and you're like, I never thought about. I
yeah,
wasn't even thinking that song because I usually do wake up with different songs in my head, and I'm like I
songs
haven't
I
heard
don't
this.
even know,
Yeah.
songs I've never heard before.
Oh well, that's okay.
Which at least I don't think so. And one time I'm flying along, and suddenly there's one guy next to me and a girl, and they start singing "It's a Small World After All" in harmony, and they were real people.
If you
Um,
could only live a day as Preston's happy out of body
that,
experience, the world would be a better place. Or just
it,
happy.
I hope people try this. It is going to change your life. You can thank me later, but do it now.
Yes.
It's imperative. It will change your. If you are at all unhappy, this will fix everything. You can physically heal yourself. You remove your fear of life after death. You can visit your deceased loved ones. I
Mhm.
went to this healing temple. It was crazy. I went to Area 51. I went to the moon.
Okay.
Visiting enlightened masters is wild.
Okay, I want to I
Well,
want to jump more into those experiences a bit, and then we're going to get into levitation. So, wrapping up part 1 here with the one and only Preston Dennett. Okay, so thank you so much. You guys need to hang on to part 2. It's going to be cosmic. It's going to be well shown next Freya, but stay tuned because we're going to get into levitation. We're going to talk about your superpowers. We haven't even touched that yet. Cognition. Haven't even touched it because I felt like we needed to set the foundation of what it is, how it's kind of organized, and the different levels and bodies and planes. But now we're going to really jump into the meat and potatoes of it. So thank you so much. Everybody stay tuned. Part 2 is like implosive explosiveness. Thank you.